So there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of news recently about who should be the starting three for the Houston Rockets. And as of right now, it's looking like Eric Gordon, but at the same time, in Jae'sean Tate, there's another player that gives us some great defense and offensively isn't too far off. So today we're going to talk about who should be getting the starting small forward position and why they should. So what's up? My name is Rockets Empire. If you like what you see, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. And let's get into it. So we're going to first compare Eric Gordon to Jae'sean Tate and what they both provide to the team. I mean, obviously they both have their strengths and weaknesses, but in terms of what the Rockets need in the starting lineup, we'll see who fits perfectly or fits better than the other. So we'll start off with Eric Gordon. So he is 33 years old, so he's going to be, first of all, a vet in the starting lineup. Going to give us some mentorship off the bench, even, obviously in the starting lineup, kind of mentor Jalen Green and KPJ, kind of mentor them both. And, in terms of his ability to still play, I mean, he's still a pretty great three-point shooter. Looking at his overall stats this season, he averaged around 13 points per game, around 2 rebounds, and around 3 assists in around 29 minutes played per game, and played in around 57 games played this season. So I would definitely say Eric Gordon has been more healthy than he's ever been in the last 2 seasons. Obviously, in that 2020 season with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, he was pretty injury prone. Last season was still also very injury prone. But this season alone, I mean, he's finally getting back on track and has played 29 minutes per game and around 57 games played out of the 81. So that's some great news right there. Looking at his shooting splits, 48% from the field and around 41% from 3 and around 78% from the free throw line. So he has some pretty great shooting splits. Obviously, the Rockets are going to be looking to trade him because we are going into more of a rebuild, a more younger focused team. So, getting rid of Eric Gordon and what his $18 million contract should be basically the focus right now in terms of trades and, obviously roster acquisitions. So they should definitely look to trade Eric Gordon. I mean, the Lakers were connected to him pretty recently alongside Buddy Hield and, a lot of those guys. So if we can trade Gordon to a contender, I mean, Gordon, he definitely deserves to win a ring. If we can trade him to Philly, kind of get him with James Harden and PJ Tucker and Daniel House, that would be even better. But, get him to a contender, get him to win a ring, basically. And I would definitely want him to see him thrive because he can still hoop. Obviously, the Rockets are pretty much holding him back because we're on a rebuilding team and he is around 33 years old. He's a win-now player. So if we can get a trade done, pretty soon, then I definitely would do it, even if I'm, getting a late first-round pick or even a second-round pick in exchange. So looking at Jae'Sean Tate's stats right here, he is 26 years old, so first of all, very young in terms of, comparing him to Eric Gordon. Looking at his season stats, he averaged around 12 points per game, around 5 rebounds, and around 3 assists. Played in around 78 games out of the 81, which is a great sign to see because his injury history isn't, too far off. Obviously, he's only played in 2 seasons, this season and last season alone, but he's definitely been showing out. I mean, in 26 minutes played, he shot around 50% from the field and around 31% from 3. Obviously 31% from the 3-point line isn't all too great, but he isn't really known to be taking the 3. Also shot around 71% from the free throw line. Also threw in basically a steal a game. The only real downside to Jae'Sean Tate, I mean, offensively, he's not going to be taking the 3. Kind of a liability right there when KPJ and Jalen Green are going to need, a lot of space. It's going to be pretty difficult to slot in Jae'Sean Tate at the 3 when the spacing is already pretty much cooked with Şengün there. So I can see where Eric Gordon starts at the 3 and gives us a little bit more floor spacing. But in terms of defense, I mean, we definitely would be a more plausible team on defense because we still have Jabari Smith, who's obviously probably one of our best, if not our best defender on the team. Jalen Green and KPJ both making strides to be better, on-ball defenders, and Şengün in terms of the post should, definitely be fine there. So looking at both of them and comparing the two in the starting lineup, if we have Eric Gordon in the starting lineup, obviously gives us more floor spacing, but Jae'Sean Tate gives us more defensive versatility. I think either way, I mean, Jae'Sean Tate, he's 6'4", 230 pounds, comparing him to Eric Gordon, 6'3", 215 pounds. So Gordon, he's more of a shooting guard in my opinion. He can definitely play the 3, but, he's got the guard players like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, those type of guys. And that's definitely not optimal. Now, obviously, Eric Gordon, he's still a pretty solid defender in himself. I mean, he probably one of our more underrated defenders on the team. I just think that if we have Jae'Sean Tate in the mix, in the starting lineup, it definitely gives us some more defensive versatility, and he can guard basically 1 through 4, maybe even 1 through 5 if you want him to. That's kind of a bit of a stretch there, but he's been doing that mostly for his career in the NBA, basically, and I believe he can do it. I mean, obviously he's a pretty versatile defender. Someone that can get you, a couple of steals, a couple of blocks, not going to be too great offensively, but defensively should be a high energy guy, kind of like David Nwaba. So in terms of who I think should start, I think it really depends on where the Rockets want to do in the next season, because obviously, like, next season, we're going to be pretty bad. We have a lot of young talent, first of all. I mean, adding in 3 more draft picks, we're going to be pretty young. And next season, I'm assuming we're not going to make the play-in. But also, we're not going to be too horrible to the point where we're going to be, high in the lottery. So, in terms of if we want to try to make a play-in push, I'm going with Eric Gordon. Gives us that high-octane offense, obviously. So, I can drop basically double digits each and every game around there. Someone that's going to give you some great perimeter defense and high energy 3-point shooting, and overall just high energy overall. But if we're going to more of a rebuild, well, obviously we're going to go into a rebuild, but if we're going to go more into a losing season, kind of just, seeing how everything works, seeing how KPJ and Jalen Green develop, and how Jabari Smith, Ty Washington, and Tari Eason play out, I'm definitely going with Jae'Sean Tate. Just give us, that KPJ and Jalen Green, let them go out on offense. Jae'Sean Tate can be more of that glue guy on defense, and on offense you can kind of just sit in the corner or even just set some screens and do a pick and roll type of thing right there. So in terms of what the Rockets want to do, it really just depends, but in my opinion, I think Eric Gordon should definitely get the start over Jae'Sean Tate. And in itself, Jae'Sean Tate coming off the bench is pretty great for us too, because we really do need that 6th man. Obviously off the bench, we have Josh Christopher, Ty Washington, who I'd assume goes to the G League to develop a little bit more. We have Tari Eason, Usman Grub, who hopefully should be healthy by the start of the season, and Daishin Nick. So getting a guy that has some experience already, and I think we should be pretty set for the future. I mean, hopefully we get rid of Eric Gordon's contract pretty soon. Hopefully we get some draft capital in exchange for him. I'd be pretty surprised if we got a 1st-round pick in exchange for Gordon. But other than that, I mean, we're pretty much good in terms of what we need to do. We still have Boban on the contract. I mean, he's going to be a mentor off the bench for, Garuba and Şengün. And hopefully we can just make some good moves in general, because I think Rafael Stone, he's hitting all the great points of a rebuild so far. I'd say the only real thing we pretty much fumbled was the Oladipo trade, because I think we could have gotten a little bit more if we didn't wait on a trade. But other than that, I mean, the Harden trade already is looking like a pretty great trade in itself. I mean, one of the picks was, converted into Tari Eason, and Eason made the All-Summer League first team. Obviously, that's not going to mean too much in the grand scheme of things, but pretty great sight to see that Tari Eason, he's already showing some flashes of being probably one of the best two-way players we've seen in a while. So I don't think that's a stretch. Tari Eason, he's been impressing a lot of people in the Summer League. Hopefully it translates into the NBA. I think it will. I mean, he's probably one of the more underrated rookies right now, and I think he should definitely be a dark horse contender for an all-rookie team next season. So hopefully we can see some more out of him. Hopefully we can see more out of Jae'Sean Tate or Gordon next season. I think Gordon gets to start by the start of the season, and I think, I don't know, I mean, Jae'Sean Tate, they could definitely switch up maybe during the second half of the season, kind of just see what happens, but I'm assuming Gordon gets traded by hopefully the trade deadline next season. And go Rockets. This video, I'm Mr. Rockets Empire, and I'm out. Peace.